Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Think Big podcast. It's episode number 60, and we're doing a 2023 recap. But before we get into it tonight, I just want to say, guys, thank you so much for being here. I'm talking to Alejandro and Sam because getting this to episode 60 is no easy feat, right? Showing up, we're talking about weekly episodes, so we're talking about well over a year, which is kind of funny. Like, I don't know about you guys, but it feels like we just started yesterday. Like, it doesn't feel like it's already been a year, and yet here we are. Because I remember Sam, like when you first gave us a call, and we're like, "Hey, let's put this together. Let's figure out a way to give value at scale, to do it consistently, to keep showing up, to show people how we're building our businesses." And I literally can't believe it's been over one freaking year since this has happened, which means these podcasts have been going on since I was living like with Luciano, like not even in my own house yet.
Has
Right?
it
Right.
really been that?
Bro,
Oh,
it's been that, like, putting things into perspective, like it's been that long, bro.
wow. Think Big's been going on before the Mindset Manor. Oh my God. That is, one day that's going to be the biggest flex ever is being able to say, like, yeah. We were doing this before the Mindset Manor was a thing. Damn. That's amazing. That is amazing, bro. Like, I love that you said that, dude. It's one of those things where I'm starting to learn for anyone listening, whether it's a podcast, whether it's social media, whether it's anything, it's just a game of life. You want to win? You want to beat everybody else? Really, just as a game of just staying in the freaking game longer. Like, that's all it is. I used to be a collegiate tennis player, and at the time, no longer fit at all. But at the time, when you're in California, in Central California, it's 120 degrees in the summer, super brutally hot. Tennis is an outdoor sport. It literally became a game of not being better than the other guy. It became a game of being willing to just stay in it longer, no matter how hot it is, no matter how hard it is, no matter how much your body hurts. It literally became a game of, for me, because I'm not very naturally talented in tennis. I'm just a workhorse, or I was a workhorse. My game was simple. This guy's better than me. He has way more skill than me. He's been playing the game longer than me. He's got better coaching and nutrition, all these things. But is he willing to suffer for as long as I am? And just doing that won me so much. So, bro, I'm excited. Is this the last? This is not the last one of the year, though. So,
Well, let's see. We do episodes on Tuesday. No, so we're good. Well, I mean, I plan on being here next Tuesday. I mean, Christmas
absolutely,
is Monday. Tuesday is not a holiday to me. So
absolutely. Yeah, exactly, man. So we're gonna be here one more week for 2023. I think this is an amazing discussion. We talked about this for what 90 minutes last week. We're supposed to be doing a year-end review, guys, where all we do is talk about the things that are going right, the things that are going wrong, all of our conclusions of 2023, and having a legitimate check-in. And I think what was really kind of powerful is that we really dove into the mindset, the personal stuff, the internal struggles that we as CEOs, as entrepreneurs are going through. And I mean, we went overtime. The crowd loved it. So I think this time it's going to be really important for us to dive into the other side of things. So Marlon, what specifically are we going to be talking about today?
yeah, so great question, Sam. First off, if you guys came here from in the chat, I want to know, where do you come here from? I'm actually very selfishly trying to get a little bit of an understanding of, are you guys tuning in because of like our Instagram post? Are you just, do your notifications tell you to tune on? Do me a favor, while you're listening, put in the chat, comment right now. What reminds you to show up to the Think Big podcast? Is this just on your Google Calendar? Because it's on my Google Calendar. But today we're going to be going over our business recap for 2023. So last week when you were here, we spoke about our personal lessons learned from everything, right? Like, just what did we learn as people outside of business, as individuals? This week, what I want to talk about is, from Sam and Alejandro, I want to learn about what were some of the toughest challenges and the lessons you learned from your business, and what are things that you're going to implement in 2024 that will really just take you to the next level. Because it's easy to talk about the wins, but I think we don't share the losses often enough. And I've got a couple of things that I'm going to replace the word losses with lessons, because I'm not really a negative person. So I always like to look on the positive side of everything. So for me, it's never a loss, it's more of a lesson. So yeah, we're going to be talking about the lessons learned in 2023. And I don't know who wants to go first today, because this is just like an open roundtable discussion. Also, what up, Paola and Wayne? Appreciate y'all being here. And
I'm gonna I want to say this real quick. I actually love just a real quick reframe for anyone that deals with this. Everyone's especially newer folks, you're afraid of losing in the game of entrepreneurship. And then this is I don't want to dive too much into mindset, but I want to say this because this is so important. I had this conversation with Marlon. You know Sasha. She works for me. She crushes. She gets a bunch of deals for us. And she had this really interesting question for me, and it led into one of the best reflective text conversations I've had. Is it okay if I just read through it really quick for you guys?
Okay, man.
And this is basically about losing. This is basically about failure, right? And then because she's starting to get traction and she's starting to understand that the cost of traction is sometimes failure. So she said, do you ever feel overwhelmed by the pressure of impact? The majority of the actions we take and conversations we have in the day determine whether a lot of people get paid or not. Basically, talking about if she fails, if she loses, she's not the only one. Other people don't make money, they can't pay for their families. And this is what I said. Sometimes I feel that way, but it's worth it. I view it in this very clear way. Yes, our wins or failures determine if people can feed their families or not. But the reality is, in order for us to help more people, millions even, we must keep growing. And the requirement of growing is actually to fail. Sadly, we have to fail people around us all the time in order to learn and grow so that we can one day help people at a larger scale. The most important thing about failing, losing, losses is we never shy away from the weight of responsibility. The fact that we feel it is an honor. So I want you guys to take this in. We call them losses. Like, hey, we lost money on a deal. We lost money. I just lost $1,500 on an EMD deal, right? It's a bad deal. I just had some oversight. I trusted the person I shouldn't have trusted enough. I lost $1,500. It's gone. It is what it is. Now, I could view it mentally as that's a loss, or I could really view it as I just paid $1,500 to learn a very valuable lesson that will make sure that I never lose that $1,500 the exact same way ever again. So with that being said, I just wanted to, really emphasize that mental framing as we go into the new year, because Marlon, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as an investor, we take risks. It's what we do. We cannot grow. We cannot make money without a level of a risk to it. And I want you guys to start being more comfortable with taking risks. And the reality of a risk is that for that potential upside, that potential reward, there is a potential fallout in somewhat of a negative viewpoint. I want you guys to view that fallout as just another way to not do something. It is just another way to learn how to do it right the next time. It is the price that you pay for the lessons of what success really looks like. So that being said, I think, Marlon, oh no, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. I led last time, and I spoke for the first 20 minutes. I was so selfish. Either of you guys, let's get into it. When do you guys lead today?
Let's go ahead and give Marlon the floor, man. Let's because I already know he's going to give us a good start.
Yeah,
Mr.
man. Fine with
Marlon
me.
himself.
So, when we're talking about 2023 recap, first off, I agree with everything you just said, Sam. Taking risk, and one of the challenges that I had here I'm just gonna go full screen. One of my challenges that I faced in 2023 was not being on the same page with my partner about risk. So when I reflected, my biggest issue, quite frankly, for me, just kind of airing out my own dirty laundry, has nothing to do with him, more to do with me, was not properly setting expectations for what partnership long-term look like. So when I had planned my partnership, it was originally started off from a different place. I was in a different mental space. I was in a different chapter in life and in business. And so we came together for a season that worked really well. But due to my inexperience, due to my lack of experience, and due to my not asking for enough help and guidance from people who had already gone way further than I have, I couldn't have properly planned. So as we grew, as our business got a little bit longer and stronger, what ended up happening was Man, I am like getting distracted with the comments. I'm gonna guys, temporarily, let's not bring any comments up on the screen. It's like my brain, I don't know how you like certain people do it, like when like they can read and like talk. I just can't do it today. Um, yeah, but so for the business, right, in 2023, what happened was in the beginning of the year, I could start to feel that there wasn't alignment with the way we are going about doing things. And what do I mean by that? It meant I'm very much a business owner. I want to be a business owner, which means I want to hire other people. I want to pay other people. I want to employ other people. I'm okay spending money if it means I don't have to do the work. And my partner was a little bit more hands-on, do-it-yourselfer. Let's save the dollar. So his idea of how we were going to become wealthy is more of save our way to wealth. My idea of how we're going to get wealthy is more let's do more deals, let's transact, let's create more income. Because the more we create, the more there is not only for us, but for everybody else. I noticed in the beginning that we weren't on the same page about that. And so the biggest mistake I made wasn't even not being on the same page, because that's an honest mistake. It was once I became aware of this, not pressing the issue, not addressing it fast enough. And so when I look at 2024, what I'm looking at is becoming a person that addresses the elephants in the room much faster, making decisions in a much shorter time frame. Because to Sam's point, the reason we don't make decisions, or at least I can say for myself, the reason I didn't make a decision faster was trying to avoid the pain of a mistake, trying to avoid the pain of saying the wrong thing. It was trying to avoid pain versus, and that's a terrible way to be motivated for yourself. Instead, it should be moving towards pleasure, right? Because the masses, we have to think about this. As entrepreneurs, we are stepping out of the 95%. We're moving away from the mediocre many to become a part of the exceptional few. And so we have to be like what Warren Buffett says, contrarian thinkers. And if we look at the mediocre many, what are they motivated by? They're motivated by fear, right? How do I know? Watch any commercial on TV. They scare you into buying. That is how you motivate the masses. So how do I think differently than them? I can't allow myself to be motivated by the fear of loss. I can't allow myself to let that be the driving factor of what moves me and pulls me out of bed every day. And that was a mistake I made throughout 2023. It was a mistake that cost me money, because in our pursuit, this is how it directly cost me money. In our pursuit to save a dollar, to not hire the best, to not go out and produce new income as our main vehicle of business, we hired cheaper contractors, right? Not cheaper in price, cheaper in experience, cheaper in performance, cheaper in results. And you get what you pay for. And so there were often times that we had to follow up behind contractors and redo work. We're talking an additional $10,000, $20,000 worth of redo, of fixing problems, because now someone has to go in and not just build what you need to build. They actually have to go in, rip out, buy material again, and rebuild. So you're talking about a job going from a one-time job to a four-time job, because instead it's got installed, now it's getting demoed, now it's getting tossed out, and now it's getting reinstalled. 4 pieces cost a lot more versus having just paid more the first time around. So a huge, huge, huge lesson is sticking with my alignment, and then really getting dialed in on, as we hire people for quality, also keeping track. This is just very tactical if you're going to do any flips. Keep a spreadsheet of every time you do a job, get your contractors to actually itemize out specifically everything they're doing down to the per square foot, right? You're laying floor, cool. How much are you laying floor per square foot? Because you can go to Home Depot and you can figure out how much you paid per square foot for material. Now you can see how much labor is costing you per square foot in putting it down. And now you start to get your pricing and you start to build out your own price chart. Because one of the things that stressed me out a lot in this business this year in 2023 was every time I talked to a contractor, Sam, I got to be honest, man, I felt like lost in the conversation. Lost in the conversation, because whatever price they told me, I was like, I actually don't know. I kind of have a ballpark, but I really don't know if I'm getting a good price or a bad price. And in the beginning, you don't know those things. So start to collect the data. It's like what you said. We got to go through those losses. We go through those failures. But It's only a failure if we don't collect the data and learn from it so we don't make the same mistake again. So a mistake I made was not collecting that data because I was stressed out about things. Allowing
So
myself to be so happy that it was over that I didn't go back and recollect data in the moment while the wounds were fresh.
I want to hit on this, man. I want to hit on this. This is so important. So for the guys that don't know, I don't do flips. I hate flips. I don't have the tolerance for them. It's not a risk thing. It's a I feel like flips can be a can of worms, and I just don't want to open that can of worms, right? But here's the thing. I love that you just said that. A lot of people, they're going to go and do flips, and they're just going to take at face value what their GCs are saying. And the problem is, if you don't have enough GCs giving you enough bids, and they're not itemizing their bids enough, you don't know if you're getting screwed over or not. You don't know if A, someone's overcharging you. You also don't know B, if someone's undercharging you. And then sometimes you don't know why there's a disparity. The guy who's overcharging you may actually have the best work, or he may be full of crap. But the guy who's maybe the lowest bid can also give you the crappiest work that you're going to have to go back and redo all over again. And it sounds like you went to a lot of those guys. And what's important to take away from this, folks, is that when you have, contractor work, when you have, a hard money loan, when you have all these private funds that go into doing this flip, and you're playing this riskier game, especially in a marketplace that's constantly evolving and constantly changing, you need to have most of your variables accounted for. And when, I wholesale tons of deals, right? We wholesale tons of deals. And what we constantly find is that the flippers who know their stuff, I give them a square footage. They're going to tell me exactly what they expect to pay for LVP versus, some other form of flooring, for what the paint's going to look like, what the cost is going to be. And why? Because they've done it enough times, but they also very quickly, and I've seen them do this, they have an itemized kind of cheat sheet on their phone near their person where they can immediately look at these things. So, dude, that is absolutely huge, guys. When you're going to these deals and you're going into especially fix and flips and rehabs, don't go into it blind. Do not go into it blind, right? So I wanted to hit on that. But Marlon, if it's okay with you, I want to go back to something a little bit before that you said that I think is really important. You and your partner had a misalignment, right? Great person, phenomenal human being, but there was a misalignment in goals, in how to execute to get to that goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Moving forward, are you not going to partner? Are you afraid of partnering?
Not at all. So moving forward, I learned it's like dating, right? It would be so stupid for me to say, hey, I had this terrible relationship. I dated this girl. It was absolutely awful. That's it. I give up on dating, right? It's just like, no, what ends up happening, because I was brave enough to go out there and start dating, I learned more specifically what I'm looking for. See, before that, I only knew, hey, I'm looking for a girl. And then I go and I date girls and I'm like, ooh, you know what? I'm actually looking for girls who take care of themselves physically and are pretty. So then I go and I get the pretty girl. It's like, ooh, now I'm realizing I also want a pretty girl who also has something going on upstairs in her head and that she has stuff to talk about. Ooh, now I get her and like, ooh, I also want a pretty girl who has stuff going on in her head, but is also kind and good to people. So each iteration, we get a little bit better at knowing what we're looking for, and we can go one layer deeper or multiple layers deeper.
Okay. You use a phenomenal word that I've fallen in love with in the last quarter, and that's iteration, right? It's an iterative process. What that means, guys, is there's iterations of things. There's a version of something. Things will go well. Things will break apart, fall apart. You may hate. And the goal is that doesn't have to be where it ends. You can go to the next thing and have a different version that just gets slightly better. And the whole point is things get 1% better each time. An iterative process is that everything you do, you're not going to start something, guys, and it's going to be magical and amazing and perfect the first time. It's just not. It is not. You guys want to crush it in flips. You want to crush it in your wholesale deals. You want to crush it in how you hire. The reality is you have to go through a certain level of shit before it becomes good. That's just the way it is. So I love that you said that. So iterative process, how is that going to apply to maybe like the next partnership that you have?
Yeah, so it's already applying right now. One of the big things is I'm having a nauseating amount of, and it's not nauseating to me, actually. It's not to the right person, it's not nauseating. To other people, it might seem excessive, but the amount of upfront conversation that I'm having with people that I'm entertaining partnership with is just, it's a lot. We're very detailed. I'm asking every question under the sun. What do you see for yourself in the future? How do you want to get there? What happens if this goes wrong? Right? There are just things I know to ask now because I went through those experiences. So when people are like, I'm afraid of getting into the wrong relationship, I just want to tell them, stop being stupid, go out there and date, and go figure out what you like about the relationship, what you don't like about the relationship, and don't be afraid to lose it all, because at some point you probably will lose it all. If we're looking statistically at individuals who have broken 7, 8, 9, 10 figures, right? Especially people who have become multimillionaires and billionaires, at some point they have lost it all. It's just a natural part of the journey. So would you rather lose it all now while you've got 10, 20, 30, 40, $100,000 to protect? Or would you rather lose it when you have $100 million to protect? I don't know about you, but I'd rather lose it now while the stakes are low. I can learn the lesson while it costs less, right? It's kind of like paying for life insurance. Get it while it's cheap.
Okay,
Also,
go ahead.
if you don't mind, like if we want to stay here for a second, we can. But there's like 2 more things I want to point out that were really beneficial now when I recap 2023. Things that absolutely helped me a lot. They helped me make more money. They helped me have a better view of my business. One was hiring a bookkeeper. So this year in 2023, I finally bit the bullet and I paid for a bookkeeper. And, I've invested probably but before this year is over, because I actually have them now doing multiple LLCs. I just tested with one LLC. Before the year is over, I would probably have invested somewhere around $10,000 to $11,000 in just bookkeeping services, which, ask me that a year ago, I'd be like, that's so much money. That's a waste of money. Like, it has been an absolute game changer for me to make data-driven decisions based on what my numbers are. That hire of the bookkeeper was one of the things that allowed me to recognize where I was making more money, what activities were producing more money for me, what activities weren't producing more money for me, because it all subjectively felt, it was all out of whack. It wasn't calibrated. My feelings of how much money I was actually earning based on what activities were doing, they weren't calibrated to the actuality of, this is what's making you the most money. This is what's making you the least amount of money. And this is where your attention should go based on the data. So I gotta say, guys, if you're thinking about getting a bookkeeper, you should have done it already. Like, if you're already in the place where you're thinking you need one. Now, if you haven't started transacting yet and you're not making any money, you don't need a bookkeeper yet. Just being real. But if you're now making money and you're doing a business that requires, you're doing multiple transactions, you're swiping a credit card regularly for your business, you're doing something like flips, or you're paying a lot for marketing, and you're starting to, especially if you do the mistake that I did, which is you start using your business to, not a mistake, but you start letting some parts of your life be paid for by your business, you absolutely want to get a good bookkeeper. And then the second thing, along with that bookkeeper, get your bank accounts in order, right? That was a big thing I did this year, was running the Profit First business model on my bank accounts, right? So I use Relay. I use a lot of banks. I use Chase, I have Bank of America, but Relay is the one I use primarily for my Profit First. If you guys are ever curious about that, I literally made an entire video on my YouTube channel where I broke down the entire Profit First model. And it has been a game changer. The reason being, there's automation set up in the banking system that will automatically move my money into the proper accounts so that I can't have foolish behavior, right? It makes me a good steward of money, right? Like, my bank account forces proper stewardship. Because before I get an opportunity to even spend the money, it goes off to taxes. It goes off into OPEX. It goes off into profit. It goes off into my tithing account. It goes wherever it needs to go. So those are 2 major, major keys to a more successful 2023. So I just wanted to share that with y'all.
Okay, that's so good. For anyone that's wondering, it's in the chat. That's the link to the video on Marlon's YouTube, going over Profit First, and especially with Relay. I love that. 2 things that I wanted to take away, guys, and we always say this. A lot of what we do is for you guys, and then selfishly, there's just shit that I get to just take from these boys and I get to learn from these guys. Like for me, bookkeeping, that's a huge thing, right? At the level that I'm transacting and with the amount of, income streams that I've got going on and the uniqueness of how a lot of my businesses are set up, like I need to get my bookkeeping in order. So I'm taking that. And it's funny. I've been hearing that for a long time, right? And like Marlon, you were probably being told for over a year now to do better bookkeeping or to have your bank accounts in a specific way. And you probably didn't do it, or get your accounting set in a certain way. And you probably just didn't do it until something at the right time, you received the message and it hit. And for whatever reason, guys, messages don't hit for me until Marlon says it. I don't know why. There's certain things that everyone will tell me and it doesn't hit until Marlon says it, to the point where I finally got clear so I don't have to be stuck at freaking airports forever. And that's just something that Marlon said to me. So I love that. Bookkeeping, get your bank accounts in order. I want to hit on something, man. A lot of people, they see bookkeeping, they see accounting, and they think, like, why should I invest in bookkeeping? All that's going to do is just like, I could do QuickBooks, I could do an Excel sheet. That's one thing, but I want to hit on this, right? Does it help you make decisions with less mental fatigue?
Absolutely. So one of the most valuable things is that exactly. Like I'm able to go inside and it's almost like a cheat code, because now, like, as an investor, as an entrepreneur, we like to have the ability to predict the future. And what's nice is math essentially provides that, right? Like if I said, what is Alejandro going to eat for breakfast tomorrow? I don't necessarily know because there's so many variables. But if I say, what is 5 + 4 going to be tomorrow? The answer is always going to be 9. The math is always going to math. So when we're looking at numbers as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, when we're learning how to break our business down into numbers and speak in terms of numbers, it gives you an ability to seemingly predict the future. So I'm able to make decisions just based on numbers are telling me this, and the numbers tell a story if you learn to read it. And every entrepreneur worth their grain of salt knows how to read their numbers. And by the way, this is a skill that I'm progressing at slowly with time. Each day I'm getting a little bit better with being able to read my numbers. In fact, I made a story post on my Instagram this Sunday as I was doing a little bit of admin work. I was going through my QuickBooks and I discovered it's small, but there was like a $500 charge. I was looking at like, what is this? This doesn't make any sense. Turns out one of the properties we sold, we were still paying the water bill, right? If I weren't looking at my numbers, if I didn't have a bookkeeper, I just would keep getting charged. Like that's an extra $1,000 every year just going out for absolutely nothing, literally being burnt, just going into a furnace. That $1,000, because we invest, can be taken, put somewhere else, and compounding over time. Right? That $1,000 could be at the end of a career an extra $500,000 of money lost, all because I was a terrible steward. And trust me, what you do with the little is exactly how you will handle the lot.
Wow. Okay, and we can move on from this, but I want to hit on this. A lot of times, and I know this, I'm speaking to myself here. A lot of times there's decisions that we need to make in our business that will move us forward, and we are incapable of making those decisions because they take up like this weird mental capacity. There's stuff that I do, guys, that is like really easy for me, and they have big ramifications, but for whatever reason, they don't take up a lot of mental capacity. So I just make those decisions quick. And then ironically, there's also a lot of small things in life, like bookkeeping. Bookkeeping, it's a big deal, but it's relatively not that difficult to enact or to implement. But for some reason, right, mentally, I just may not want to do it. It may take up mental capacity, and it may be hard for me to cross that bridge. And those are the tasks that we just draw on for way too long. And usually when we get it done, we're like, holy crap, this is like the best thing ever. And it was a lot easier than I thought it would be. I should have just done this a year ago. So I want you guys to go into 2024. The things that, who said it? Was it, I don't know, Chris Williamson said it. And I think it was quoting Nietzsche. And he said, what is that line? It's an amazing line. The magic you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding.
Yep.
One of the best lines I've ever heard. One of the best freaking lines I've ever heard. So I love that. guys, get data driven. What Marlon is saying is this: Marlon's visionary as hell. He is mindset Marlon, but he's learning that the magic in growing his business and growing as an entrepreneur and growing as a business owner, as a CEO, is in making better data driven decisions. And if he's not going to, I love you, Marlon, but I just can't see you as the person who's going to sit there once a week for 2 hours doing bookkeeping manually. It is
Yeah.
not who you are, right?
No, I would absolutely, I would hate my life. I couldn't, I don't want to ever do that. And I would make so many mistakes. It's not even funny. Like, it's just not the position I should ever be in. And I got to say this, Sam, the reason, this is the power of the campfire. The reason I started getting serious about my numbers was because of you. Because every time I have a conversation with you, you just naturally, when we talk about business, when we talk about where we're at, you naturally just start asking me, like, all right, well, what numbers? Like, what are the KPIs? What's this? What's that? And like the conversations, I find that if I'm not talking numbers, it's not specific enough for you to be able to solve my problems. And I'm like, you know what? This made me realize, like, I really need to come and make my numbers dialed in, which is why it's one of the core values of just the way I operate. It's one of my personal principles, is that I speak in terms of numbers. And that's a new development. That wasn't Marlon a year ago, did not speak in terms of numbers. That came as a result of a friendship with Sam.
That's so good. That makes me so happy. I'm excited. That's phenomenal. That's fucking amazing. Okay, and I love it. And I love it. And I'm seeing it. Over the last 6 months, I've seen you become much more clear and intentional, right? And I'm the guy who is obsessed with scaling, and you can only scale if you have data and you have knowledge about the business and numbers. And I've seen you do it in your, not just in your business, but in your personal life, man. You're tracking your sleep quality. You're tracking, you're tracking so much with just your Whoop alone. Every time I'm with you and I turn my Bluetooth on, your freaking Marlon's Whoop is the first thing that comes up as a suggestion. I'm like, there he is, tracking his stuff. Always tracking. And we'll move on from this. But Alex Hormozi had this phenomenal thread. I don't know what to call it. What do you call a thread post? Is it just a thread?
I think it's called a post.
It's just called a post? Okay. With like Twitter, it's like a tweet. Now it's an X. What do you call that? Oh shit, whatever. He said, if you don't track, you don't care.
Agreed.
And as visionaries, we pretend to give a damn, but we do everything else except for do the one thing that allows us to actually move the needle forward at the highest capacity, and that is start tracking. Dude, I love it. Wow. Okay. Alejandro Alvarez, all the way in the North Pole. What is going on, man? Let's talk about some challenges in your businesses, some wins, some losses, some big takeaways on the business side.
Wow, that's a big can of worm. I've learned so much in 2023, bro. It's crazy, but I'm so grateful for all of it, to be honest. And Marlon, thank you so much for sharing that and being vulnerable with us. I know for sure that just with Marlon alone, I know we can go for at least 3 hours just speaking to Marlon about the stuff he learned in 2023. But for me, man, I'm just gonna, and let me know if I'm skipping, guys, or if my connection is not so good, because earlier the stuff was skipping. Okay, let's start with the stuff that I really took me a while to really understand, and that's it. That is hiring the wrong people and cheaping out on your systems costs you way more than hiring someone and paying them more with more experience and also paying for a more expensive system. Oh my God, bro. That was such an eye opener. I was just going over that our EOS meeting, and it's like every time I'm just seeing an issue with just like having the wrong systems in place, like spam phone numbers are just always going to come up with spams and all that, costing us money every single time someone doesn't answer the phone, or having the wrong employee in place. Just, bro, that was just huge. And honestly, that just gives me anxiety just talking about it right now. Because you guys ever had like a situation where you see notes on something and you know that if you were on a phone, that would have been a $20,000 deal and not a lost opportunity? You guys ever seen that before?
Yep.
That's just crazy, bro. I understand that, when you hire employees, you're gonna lose money along the way. That's fine. The whole idea is to make sure that you're making than um, more money with employees than you are with yourself. If that's not the case, then that's a big issue. So I would say that was one of the big things for me. So moving forward, it's like when people tell me, "Yeah, man, just look at this cheaper option." I'm like, "No, I'm good, bro. Just what's the option that's working? What is the option that's working? Let's go with that option." And then find people with more experience because, bro, it can take you a year to train somebody in sales when you can just hire someone that has sales experience. Holy crap, bro! I'm telling you. Um, that's if anyone is getting ready to scale or hire people, just hire the right people. I promise you, it's gonna make you more money along the way. Will it cost you more up front? Sure, but it will not cost you a lot more down the line because then you'll have people that. Go ahead, Sam. Ooh, I'd love to hear
I'm
something you
so
guys want.
sorry. I have this question for you because you're on the side of businessman because you're at a scale, right? You've evolved in your business. You understand this very valuable lesson. But for some people here, they
Hmm.
who are on the newer side of hiring, they may be afraid that they may be afraid to make the investment in quality hires because they said, hey, a quality hire is going to cost me more money. And I'm afraid that if I invest in them and I teach them everything they need to know to crush it for my business, that they're going to leave in 3 months. How do you feel about that mindset? Because it's a very common mindset, for newer entrepreneurs.
That's a really good question. I think I'm probably gonna piss some people off while I say this, and that's fine. But I believe you need to hear this if you really want to scale. If you're hiring, if you're gonna hire males, like male guys for your sales team, make sure that they're the leaders in their home at home. That's a huge one. I'm gonna tell you this right now. Every guy that I've had on my team that does not lead their home quitted on me all the time. All the time. Oh, my wife this or my girlfriend this. Yeah, man. And they got into a situation where it's just I'm talking about like maybe over three people. The press. I'm like, hey man, what's going on? Yeah, man, my wife just doesn't believe in me and it's just like such bad energy, bro, in the whole team. It's just really, really bad energy. So if you're not leading at home, if you have to double check with your wife before you make a decision that's going to value your family, I'm sorry. You're probably not going to make it. It's going to be really hard. So anytime I have a conversation with when I'm hiring guys that looking to get on my sales team, I'm gonna, hey, how's the relationship with you at home? How's your wife? How's that going? Okay. Like those are the type of conversation I'm gonna have. If let me ask you this, if you have to if you have a call at 8 p.m., man, and your wife says, hey, honey, go get me the whipped cream from the fridge. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna put that call on hold, or are you gonna take care of your wife that you really love? Oh yeah, I gotta take care of the wife. Okay, great, awesome. We're not gonna move forward. This is just not gonna happen. You have to understand you have to understand the priority. Your wife needs to understand that you are the leader and the supporter of the home. Now that's just from my experience, guys. If you had a different experience, fantastic. That's just from my experience moving forward. If you're not the leader of your home, I'm sorry. It's probably not going to work out for you here in at least in our company in the sales department because we're pretty aggressive. We wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, we work out, we read books. Those are all things you have to that are required. We go from 7 o'clock a.m. to 7 p.m. Central, I believe is what it is. That's the number one thing. So as far as quitting, Sam, to answer your question as far as like what about that mindset? It is what it is. So be it. It's fine. I'm not afraid of it. If you're going to leave, great. However, I do think that from my experience, what has kept my guys here in our company is not it's not how much money they make. It's the culture we provide. That's a big one for me because if you have a shitty culture, it doesn't matter how much money they're making. They're probably going to leave. And being a leader is really important. If I tell my guys that I'm going to do something and they catch me not doing it, that's horrible. They're probably not going to last. So you have to have discipline. You have to lead as an example. So every time I've said something, you can ask my guys, hey, if Oliver say he's going to do something, he does it. So that's the culture. So as far as if they're going to leave, man, and honestly, I ask questions. Hey, man, are you planning on starting your own business? Okay. If you're making $15,000-$20,000 with us a month, do you feel like you want to do your business? Oh no, I'm making a lot of money. So the just from that alone, my understanding is that they think they want to run their own business because they want to make X amount of money. But when you provide that in your company, then and you have a great culture, it's going to be really tough for them to leave. Think about it. If you bring in someone that's making, I don't know, $5,000 a month, and you're giving them a position where they're making $10,000, $15,000 a month, and on top of that, they enjoy your culture, where are you gonna go? Now, if you want to run your company, no problem. Fantastic. Guess what? I'll partner up with you. I'll help you. I'll do whatever you need me to do to help you achieve that company. There's no animosity towards it. There's no bad energy towards it. I'm willing to help you the best way I can. And if it doesn't work, it is what it is.
I wanna piggyback on this real quick and just kind of give my quick 2 cents on this, guys. Because I get this a lot, right? A lot of times people make a hire and they won't invest the resources in the hires they have. And my senior leadership in my businesses, in everything that I do, um, they have access to over $100,000 worth of mentorship and all the resources that come along with all the mentorships and masterminds that I'm in. So when I go and drop 30, 40, 50 grand a year, some of these I'm dropping 25 grand every 6 months, for masterminds and communities that I'm in. We also get all these digital deliverables. My leadership has access to all these things. So they have access to not just me, but the best minds in all of entrepreneurship. And one thing that I want to say, and this is the answer, guys, in the simplest way I can answer the problem of I'm afraid to hire and then invest further in developing my people. Because if I train them to be absolute rock stars like I am, they're going to start their own business. And it's actually a quote from one of the most revolutionary entrepreneurs of the last 200 years. It's Henry Ford. And Henry Ford said, the only thing worse than training your people and having them leave is not training them and having them stay.
Mm.
And once you accept that, once you embrace that reality, you will understand it. That guys, the low skill guys in your business who just aren't pushing the needle, who aren't critically thinking, who aren't problem solving, man, here's a problem with them. They're going to stay in your business, and your business is going to suck because it's being run by people who aren't developed. So, to Alejandro's point, 100%. If you want to scale, you have to build people. You have to develop an amazing team. But once you have that team, don't just hire. And I'm going to take it one step further, Alejandro. Outside of just hiring on a higher quality talent pool, once you have them in, develop them further. It's not enough just to get a high quality person in and that's it, just expecting them to coast for the next 20 years and run your business at a high level for you. If you want
Mhm.
your business to continually grow, make a quality hire, and you're going to invest a lot of money up front in doing that, or invest a lot of resources in doing that. And then once you have them in the door, keep pouring on them, keep developing them, right?
Mhm.
Mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially, right? It is the end all be all, right? Your revenue will never exceed your level of self development. So, okay, wanted to hit that, man. Keep going. What other massive kind of lesson, business successes, failures have you had in 2023?
Ooh, another big one is going to be. Well, by the way, systems. I just want to touch. Sam is the master when it comes to systems. So my experience, really quick, what I learned on system is it doesn't matter how great your team, how great your team is. If you don't have the right systems in place, you're going to lose tons and tons and tons and tons of money. Tons of money. Right? So like we do audits all the times in the company, and I have like a little scorecard that I just write down on like on every situation we lost money. Whose fault was it? Where can we fix this? I always analyze all that stuff. And if you're a business owner, it's your fault, man. I'm just be honest with you. If you're a business owner, you have to look at the system you have in place. If your acquisition missed a deal because he didn't have the right objection to, I'm sorry, the right rebuttal to an objection, it's your fault. You didn't train him well, right? I want to have a system where it's dummy proof all the way. I tell my guys this all the time. It's like I want to have a system so good that even the worst salesperson can make $5,000 a month by mistake consistently. That's the type of system I want to have. So if you don't have the right systems in place, guys, you're gonna lose tons of money. The other big one that I learned in 2023 is going to be great people does not equals to great partners, business partners. Oh my God. I can go out for a whole nother 2 hours just on that. I've met a lot of great humans along my journey, and when we got into partnerships, it just wasn't the best. Fortunately for me, I know how to differentiate personal stuff and business stuff. I'm really good at that. If we have something going bad in business, I still respect you as a great person because that's the reason why I got in business with you because you're a great human being, and I think we'll be able to do great things. And if it doesn't work out, it's just unfortunate for different scenarios. So great people does not equals to great partners. If you can keep a friend, a great person in your circle as just a great person, do not rush into a business with them. Do not rush into a business with them. Let them be. However, and vice versa, some great business partners doesn't necessarily mean they're great people. I'm just being honest. But do I want to partner up with someone that's just not a great person? No, probably not. I'm always looking to partner with someone that's that has a great personality, has the very similar values as I do. And if you're great in business as well, fantastic. Let's partner up and let's do some business. And it can also be just a very short journey. It doesn't have to be, let's be business partners forever. It can just be a little stepping stone like, hey, thank you for helping me get here. This is the best partnership I had during this time of my life. I'm going to move on to something else. Um, what else I have here? And yeah, that's really about it. Those are the big two things, man. It's just hiring the right people, systems, and keep great humans as just great friends. They don't have to necessarily be great partners.
I do want to say something. One thing I've noticed a lot in 2023, and it's funny, even like listening to you, Alejandro, and continuing to reflect on my own 2023. A lot of our mistakes and challenges seem to come back to their human related uh, issues, their human related shortcomings. And something I got to see 2 weeks ago when I was down in DC helping Drew run his 100 mile. And we spoke about this on that podcast episode. Watching what happens when the right team, the right group of guys and group of people come together. And even if like we think about like in the military, right? Like the special forces, like what's so special about them? It's like it's these right people coming together. And it's not necessarily the most athletic, it's not the smartest, it's not the fastest. It's the most gelled together group of individuals that get to be a part of a special team. And so it's like teams. And even when you said partner up, right? When you partner up, it's not partner down, it's partner up. People that elevate one another. If a partnership is just a 1+1 = 2, that's not a good partnership, right? We had Alex Quesada come on earlier this year. We've had a few people come on and speak about this, that a partnering up should be an absolute elevation for all people involved, especially you if you're out there seeking a partner this year. So keep that in mind and don't settle. So I love that. And when I say you, Alejandro, I'm not saying you, I'm talking to our audience, So for
Hmm.
the people in our audience who are listening to this, and hopefully you guys are taking this personally, right? Like when you're hearing Alejandro give advice, when you're hearing Sam give advice, that you are inserting your own name, that you are hearing them, you're hearing Sam and Alejandro speak directly to you. They're saying, Peter, are you listening to me? Jim, is this making sense? Jim, what do you think about what I said and how is it going to apply to your business? Peter, how are you going to take this back to your house tonight? Jordan, how's this going to change the way you do everything? But I want to
Hmm.
also open this up to hear from Sam because uh, we don't have a lot of time, but I have a feeling we might be going over. I got a feeling.
Yeah, so dude, I love this one. I love this one. It's an interesting thing, and the reality is all of us I think could probably go in. I mean, Marlon and I have a private mastermind. It's me, him, and a few other guys. Literally, we have a private mastermind where we typically go for 2 hours every other week just talking about our businesses, right? And we have a new 2 hours every single time. There's so much to go over. I actually love this topic. I'm gonna try to be as concise as possible. And this is going to be an interesting thing. So I want to preface this, guys. What I'm going to talk about are lessons that I'm learning running a business that is running multiple businesses that are absolutely crushing and have tons of capability and tons of resources in them. And these are not new businesses. These are businesses that have had blood, sweat, tears, and so much poured into them. So the lessons that I'm learning are also lessons of scale. So just know that just because I'm saying all these things right now, remember that these things that I'm going to be saying are applicable to the season that I'm currently in. Okay. So I may say something that is applicable to where I'm at, and it actually could be the worst thing for you to try to go do in 2024 if you're in a totally different season than me. And I want to challenge everyone here to listen to all the lessons we're taking, extrapolate what matters, but also most importantly, don't do something that doesn't serve the season that you're in, right? If I try to act like Alex Hermosi and I try to make the moves that Alex Hermosi is making right now, I will fail because I'm not in the season that he's in. So I want to talk, there's so much I could talk about. One, this was a huge thing for me. I've always believed in it, but this was the year that I truly came into it, practiced it, and have come out on the other side, right? And it is, and I'm going to go heavy on business tactics here, guys. Top-down hiring, okay? If you guys don't know what that means, top-down hiring, there are two forms of hiring. There's bottom-up and then top-down. Bottom-up is what you're basically always told to do in this industry, in real estate, in wholesaling, in general entrepreneurship. And I am sorry, it is the dumbest way to hire. I don't care what anyone says. I can prove you wrong a million different ways because I've done it, been there, done that, done all the studies. I know why. If you go and ask any person worth over 50 million, none of them will ever do bottom-up hiring. None of them. Yes.
Can you repeat that real quick, Sam, just so I can write it down? Because I was you kept on going. You were throwing so much sauce. I was like, wait, don't move so fast.
All good.
Can you just repeat
All
that
good.
one more time? Bottom, what?
Top-down hiring. I wonder if I can actually share a screen. Can I?
You can.
I don't know why it's not doing it. It's not letting me do it. My iPad's not showing up.
Dang. I mean, dude, I agree with you. Like, I love where this conversation is going already because, you know, you and I had a conversation about top-down hiring, and that's actually one of the biggest changes I'm making here in like Q4 leading into the 2020.
Yep, it is easily one of the most tactical changes you can make in your business, and it will change the success of your business, the trajectory, the speed at which you move, and also most importantly, your ability to remain in the right mindset. So I wish I had the iPad. I don't know why, guys. I'm so sorry. It's not letting me connect it. I'm going to try to do my best to explain it. So in this industry, I'm going to speak about real estate specifically. You were taught you're going to get into the business. You're going to cold call, right? You're going to spend your time cold calling. And once you perfected cold calling, you're going to do what? You're going to hire a cold caller, right? They're going to remove yourself from that. You're going to level up. And then that cold caller is going to be doing that $3 an hour task. And what are you going to be doing? Now you're not wearing all the hats, all the 10 hats in a wholesale business. Now you're the lead manager, closer, TC, dispo, all these other things, right? And then eventually you're going to spend, 2-3 months doing that. Your cold callers crushing the phone. They snag another deal. And then you're like, sweet, I've got another 20 grand. I want to go ahead and remove myself from this position. So I'm going to go hire a follow-up specialist or a lead manager. And then now you have a cold caller doing the dials. You've got the lead manager following up. Well, now you're a closer, right? And you've leveled up again. Congrats. And then you're going to keep doing that. And then eventually what's going to happen is you're going to take 2 damn years going from cold caller to lead manager to closer to sales team lead to sales director to dispo manager to then you're potentially a CEO. Wrong way to do it. And it's because of one of the most flawed ways of thinking. And I am here to argue this from the rooftops, and I know I'm right. Guys, when Jeff Bezos wants to launch a new company, right? Does he go and start building out a website himself? No. Does he start going in and establishing new distribution channels himself? No. If he decides to launch a hydration drink to compete with Logan Paul and Prime, do you think Logan Paul launched Prime and started like playing with recipes? Do you think he started sitting on Canva and designing what the bottle's going to look like? Hell no. Hell no. And if they did, their businesses would probably never take off. The reality is when you do bottom up hiring, you start at the bottom, hire the lowest level position and incrementally go up. You're going to spend one of your most important, in my opinion, you have two most important resources tied at number one. It's your attention and your time. You're going to spend your attention and your time, 2 years of it potentially or more, just doing these basic little freaking level ups. And how do I know this, guys? In the communities that we're in, how many leaders do we know who've been in the industry for 2, 3, 4 years, and they're still talking to sellers? They're still the dedicated closer. You got a sub 2 deal that needs a hard seller? Yeah, I'll nab the phone. The reality is doing this, you are extending the timeline for you to actually become a CEO, COO, or ideally a business owner. So the best in the world, this is what they do, guys. They're going to find the top dog first. Yes, Alejandro.
I have a question because I'm definitely an example. I was definitely that guy that started cold calling, lead managing, closing, dispo, TC. If I had to go start over brand new, how can I properly, and I think this is going to be a valuable question for everyone as well that's listening, how can I properly do exactly what you're talking about without having to give up everything of my company? Oh, because I have nothing to offer, right? Because obviously Jeff Bezos, here's a 300,000 salary, it's nothing, right? But for me, like if someone is coming in and like I need to hire a dispo, but I have no clue how to do dispo. How do I hire that person without showing them credibility that I know what I'm doing, or how can I lead that person without understanding that specific department? I would love to hear how you would handle that. 'Cause I want to go back and rethink that.
So good. I love this. I love this. And this is a question that stumps a lot of people, but I got this because I've encountered this a million times over, guys. So problem number one, you mentioned about partnership, right? How do I do this without giving up the entire pie, right? I'm gonna say it right now, guys. I have paid insane amounts of money to learn from people who are doing millions of dollars a month in real estate acquisitions. I've seen the best in the world. Very few of them actually have partnerships in their wholesale or their acquisitions business, right? We are quick to partner very often. I'm not saying partnering is wrong, but you don't need to partner in every business. Very often, the reality is this: we are quick to partner because we don't know how to properly recruit, hire, train, and retain talent. You wouldn't give up 50% of every deal you ever do to an integrator partner if you knew how to go and competently hire and retain a part-time software developer to run your CRM and your integrations for you, right? You wouldn't need to partner with someone who's generating the leads if you learned how to work with companies that just do lead generation for you. The reality is, I'm going to say it again, and I want to hit this. Why? Because I was that guy. I thought I needed to partner, and it got me into a bunch of shit. And then one of my greatest mentors, her name is Tiffany High. She pulled me aside and she's like, why the hell are you trying to partner all the time? And she drilled it to me. You only partner. And there's nothing wrong with partnering, guys. I'm not saying that you can't partner. But the reality is we are sometimes quick to partner because we don't know how to properly recruit, hire, train, and retain the talent. So if you're someone who doesn't have the 300K salary, right, to drop on a COO, totally fine. You can give them, you don't have to give them equity in the company. You can give them an equity stake in the deal with an incentivization structure that allows and promotes them to absolutely kick ass. So you talk about like Dispo. Guys, in order for you to launch a business and crush it in the business, I'm going to tell you right now, You don't need to know how to do every single task. Do you think Logan Paul knows how to mix drinks? Actually, that guy probably used to get drunk a lot, so he probably does. But do you guys think that Logan Paul knows how to like do manufacturing? Probably not. Do you think he's an expert at email marketing sequences? Probably not. The reality is you don't need to know how to do the task. You just need to be able to define what success looks like. That is actually it, guys. The golden ticket to hiring and training and retaining talent is just knowing what success looks like. And you may not have all that information immediately. And this is where networking comes into play. This is where you can network and find people who absolutely crush it. I know I'm going to want to launch PPC as my main source of doing deals. You can freaking use Google and find every PPC producing agency in the country, every PPL pay per lead. Hell, you can go to this podcast called the Think Big Podcast, where we did 6-7 weeks straight of lead generation mastery, where I showcased all of this for you guys for free. So the answer that I'm actually completely sick and tired of people like being cost prohibitive, saying I can't figure it out because I don't have the money. No, you absolutely can figure it out. You absolutely can figure out what success looks like. And then you need to, once you know what this is what success looks like in this role, in this position, in this part of the business, guess what? Now you need an SOP. I did this Zoom recently, this webinar called Level Up. And I talked about how to start building out SOPs. Sometimes if you're broke as a joke, you have to do it yourself. And there's tools that'll help you do it. Trainual, I believe, is free. There's like a free plan with Trainual. There's all these other things that you can use to start building out SOPs. So, one, identify the task that needs to be done. Okay. And I'm gonna go top down here. When I launch a business, I actually don't go and do any of the work myself. I really don't. What I go do is I go hire a competent, super competent executive, right? A competent executive who doesn't have ownership in the company. They're going to be a salary position, right? And they're going to be a salary position who I'm going to then task with filling out the downline underneath them. And my job is to be a big brother, a mentor, an advisor to them in figuring it out. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be the one to go and hold the interviews for cold callers, to be the one to go and interview the lead managers, the closers. That's on them. But I need to help them understand my CEO hire, who I'm not even paying on salary. I may be paying them on commission per deal. So I have no overhead up front. So you can't pretend like money's an issue. And I can say, hey, you're going to go hire a cold caller based on everything I found through the internet, based on the networks, the masterminds, the communities I'm in. I know that a cold caller's success should look like this. It's going to be this work schedule. It's going to be using this system generally, right? It's going to be making this rough amount of dials per day. That is what success looks like. I need you to go find that person for me. Same thing with the lead manager. Same thing with the closer. You mentioned Dispo specifically. What if I'm brand new and I've never closed a freaking deal before? Great. Okay, cool. It's still going to be very easy for me to go find out all the different ways to do dispositions thanks to the freaking internet. Through the internet, through YouTube, through your network, through your masterminds, through your communities, through DMing one of us, and we'll be able to say, yeah, I mean, heck, Alejandro, wasn't one of your first big YouTube videos about finding cash buyers? And you showed multiple ways to do it. So the information's out there and it will show you what success looks like. I will then give that expectation of success to my senior director, to my operating officer, to whoever it is. And I will say, this is what you need to go do. You need to go find the person who can enact this success and leave it to them. Let them go spend the time posting the job posting the interviews. And as you get bigger and bigger and bigger, right, guys, at the level that I'm at, which is not an extremely high level, it is my job now to amplify my leaders. It is not my job to go hire cold callers and lead managers and figure out and have, calls with every other freaking, phone dialing agency out there. No, it is my job to say to my leaders, go figure it out. Anytime there's a problem in the business, I need you to come back to me with what the problem is with 2 or 3 solutions to the problem. And then I will be able to give you my level of feedback based on my experience, but it's going to be on you to make the best decision with the data you've been given. And here's an important thing, Alejandro. Allowing your leaders to fail is a huge thing that I've learned. A huge thing that I've taken a lot of power in is allowing my leaders, giving them permission to completely F it all up. Because what's happening is they're getting real world feedback in critical thinking. They're getting real world problem solving abilities. So top down hiring. So now if I go launch a business, guys, I'm not going to go hire a cold caller. I'm not going to go hire a lead manager. I'm going to go hire a senior sales director or a CEO or a COO. And I'm going to tell them, and because the scale I'm at, I'm going to say, here's all of the masterminds and mentorships that we have access to because I pay a lot of money. Go through all of those systems, go through all of those modules. Maybe you're not me and you don't have access to all that shit yet. Totally fine. You can spend a day, spend 2 days, spend a week even curating a YouTube playlist of all the best game there is, and then give that to your person as a mini crash course on what success in your role is going to look like and have them go and act it. So top-down hiring is huge. It's the right way to hire. I don't care what anyone says. It's also the quickest way to build a business. You are going to spend years doing bottom-up. Top-down is actually how you build it consistently, effectively, and in a timeline that doesn't make you want to shoot yourself. That's a big thing. Alejandro, the next big thing that I've learned in business in 2023.
Real quick, before you jump into that, I'm going to hold that thought because for everyone listening, because we're going above and beyond tonight, we're going over on time. What I want you guys doing in the comment section, write what was your biggest takeaway from what Sam just said? Because the last thing I want to see people do is take this information in and not make any money with it. Like that is like the last thing I want to see someone do is sit here and nod their head like, yeah, that sounds great. And then jump onto the next YouTube video after because they never took time to actually digest what Sam just said. Because if you listen to what he just said, every single person watching should have just had a paradigm shift. Every single person. And if you're thinking I'm over exaggerating, keep rewatching this until something clicks in your brain. Right? Like really give me what was your feedback, right? And Anthony said delegate. I want more details than that. Anthony, write me a paragraph. Write me a book, my friend. All right, so Sam, I want to throw it back to you.
I can give a little takeaway really quick, just in case someone missed it. It's what Sam was pretty much explaining. It's like obviously hiring the CEO, right? And then they let the CEO do the work for you, and you can also provide the necessary information to success by obviously networking. Go find the blueprint, understands, and you get the SOPs together, and then just put the right people in place. So if you have the puzzle, right, you're gonna start the puzzle from the top, put the CEO, and let the CEO put the rest of the puzzle together for you. So that's my biggest takeaway. I wish someone would have told me that. I am grateful that I understand all departments in the business, but if I had to go back, I'm like, holy crap, I probably would have been more financially set up in less than 12 months instead of 3 years. But I'm so grateful for the journey. But Sam, this is great for me because I have other businesses that I'm starting and I'm working on. So this is so valuable. If someone didn't get value in the chat, selfishly, I am more than happy that you went over all that, Sam. So thank you so much, brother.
And I'm going to highlight one more thing, and it's Peter is on the money with this. Give employees what success looks like. If they heard nothing else, your ability to define success, to articulate success, to give them an image, to demonstrate it. And demonstrate it doesn't mean you go out and do it. Like Sam said, like Alejandro said, here's a video. This is what success looks like. Does everyone understand what success looks like? Can you guys repeat back to me what success looks like? Do you understand what the finish line is? So there's no question about when you've crossed the finish line. And until we've produced this, we have not finished the race. Now go out there and run. Critical. All right, cool.
So I was able to simplify this on an IG story recently, guys, and it's actually one of the most insanely saved. So it's cool now. If you guys have the right account type on Instagram, you can actually see when people save your stories. And guys, this IG story, which I thought would go over people's heads, was saved over 175 times. Think that's crazy. And it's a 7-step technically, very simple. I'm gonna breeze through it. This is an extensively simplified blueprint in how to become a billionaire. Step 1, identify money-making activities within the business. Notice how I didn't say go do the money-making activities. Identify. Step 2, assign a leverage multiplier to said activities. What is a leverage multiplier? Calculate based on this input, what is my output? You can establish a multiplier to everything you do, and it will help you, like Marlon's analytically making decisions and finding out what's worth doing. You can do that in your business. That's step 2. Step 3, critical, build or obtain an SOP for that activity to be done. Notice how have I yet said to go do the activity yourself? Nope. Identify it, classify and assign it with a leverage multiplier, go build or obtain an SOP for doing it and how to do it, a step-by-step process. Step 4, hire, train, retain talent to perform activities and stabilize their performance as soon as possible. So figure it out, determine how effective that task is, get the SOP on how to do it, build it yourself or find it somewhere, pay for it, YouTube University, I don't give a damn. Go hire a person to do it and help them stabilize the performance. You have still not done the task yet. Step 5, identify a higher leverage multiplier money-making activity. That's the next level. Go find the next problem to solve. Step 6, repeat steps 3 to 4, baby. Go hire someone to go do it. Help them stabilize it. Once they're stabilized and they're good to go, you go solve the next problem. Solve the next problem. And if you're doing it right, what you're doing is you will enact an ever-evolving game of increasing leverage that will exponentially compound and inevitably result in a billion-dollar empire. It is that simple. So, guys, top-down hiring is one of the biggest things for me. Another thing, this is huge for me, guys, is be fluid in your identity as an entrepreneur. Like, and I don't mean like be gender fluid, guys. I mean, Marlon's laughing. I don't mean be fluid in your gender or anything like that, but be fluid in the fact that in order for you to get to the end destination, you will have to morph. You will have to change. New seasons will require new versions of you. When we interviewed Matt Higgins, a shark from frickin' Shark Tank, he said, be merciless in your end goal, but be malleable, be flexible in the execution required to get you there. Because as we level up, we realize the things that we're doing aren't going to get us where we want to get in a reasonable time frame. We may have to try new things. We may have to be flexible and pivot and roll with the punches. So be rigid in your vision, but be flexible in your execution because it is what is required of you. And as you level up, guys, and I'm going to speak to myself here. And this was the biggest business thing. Marlon, Alejandro, you guys know about this. I'm not going to get into too much about the specifics of it. But the reality is, if you continually do a damn good job upgrading leverage, you may find yourself leaving an industry completely. You may find yourself leaving an identity behind you completely. So, Marlon, you know this. I have another business and other business ventures that are so much more scalable, automatable, successful, and will just take care of me and my loved ones way longer than anything I could ever do as a real estate operator, right? But the reality is the last 2 years of my life, I've been building an identity of being Sam Singh, the real estate operator. Doesn't mean that I'm going to stop buying real estate. I'm buying real estate all the time. I'm going to keep buying more. I need to buy more because it needs appreciation. But the reality is, for me to level up and get to the Sam Singh, the billionaire, I have now upgraded leverage to the point where it will hurt me. It will hurt the goal, the mission, the vision, if I stay and spend my time and my identity as a real estate investor only. So be willing to kill off the previous identity of you. I'm having to do it going into 2024, and it is a rough go, guys. It is not easy. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Even though I know I'm going to make way more money, I'm going to be way happier with it. I'm actually going to be talking about content that I actually really enjoy. I really enjoy talking about business and scaling, guys. We just talked about real estate. Did you guys notice how I don't really actually talk about real estate? I talk about business. But the reality is internally, I have to leave an identity behind. And that can be difficult. So if the goal is XYZ, be prepared to leave an identity behind you. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna suck. People are not gonna be okay with it. I know right off the bat that there are a lot of people in my circle who are just not gonna vibe with what I'm gonna do in 2024 because it's not because they actually care or don't care about me. It's because they're preserving an image that they have of me in their mind. And people are uncomfortable with change. So what they do is they like to lock you in an identity that comforts them, that makes them feel safe, that doesn't allow them to be threatened. So that's another huge thing, guys. My biggest thing is this overall coming out 2023 is always, 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 more than anything, guys, upgrade your damn leverage. You want me to give you the one reason why people come to me and I know they're failing is because they've been doing this game for 2, 3, 4 years and they stopped upgrading their leverage. They started cold calling, then they got a cold caller. They started lead managing, they got a lead manager. They started closing, they got a closer. And now they say, I own a business. No, you don't. You're just a sales manager. That's all you are. You're a sales team lead. You're going to come in and close a deal because your closer can't handle subject to or creative finance or a hybrid. You don't own that business. That business still owns you. You're just on call. You're an on-call employee. You just haven't realized it yet. The people who stagnate and the people who die in the world of entrepreneurship are the people who stop evolving and upgrading leverage. So be comfortable with risk. Be a mercenary with your time. Constantly upgrade your leverage, because if you don't, you're only coasting. And as the great Kent Clothier says, you can only coast in one direction, and that's downhill. We are way over time, so I'm going to cut it there, man.
Thank you for sharing, Sam. That was amazing.
I just realized I was muted too. Yeah, that was such a mic drop moment, man. That was absolutely fire. And yeah, I think we covered a lot tonight. And it's really helpful to unpack after a season, after a year of going through it, whether things worked out in your favor. And like I'm talking to the audience right now, guys, whether or not you hit your goals this year, whether you didn't hit your goals, a very important exercise that you need to do is take time to stop and reflect and ask yourself what worked well last year, what didn't work well, and where do you actually want to go? Because Sam said he reflected on where he wanted to go, and he realized a vehicle that worked well for him last year isn't going to work well for him for the future. I had the same sort of moment. Alejandro's having the same moment right now. So we want you to take these episodes each week, treat it like a $100,000 course that you went and paid for. This is your college education, right? Treat it like you're paying tuition, because funny enough, you are paying a tuition each week when you show up here. You're paying with the most expensive currency you have, your time and your attention. And we don't take it lightly, so I don't think you should either. So do us that favor and sit and reflect and let us know from tonight what your biggest takeaway was. And the way you're going to let us know, tag us on IG. You see Alejandro, Sam, myself, we're active on IG. Some of you tag us every single week. You just screenshot this and you let us know that you watched, and that's awesome. And some of you send us private messages, which is even cooler. I want you now to make that message public. Share it not just with us, but share it with other people. So when you tag us on IG, tag us in your story. Let us know this was the big takeaway today. This was the aha. This is what came up for me. I'm excited to hear that. And we'll be back here next Tuesday. So if it's your first time tuning in, you know what you need to do. You're on YouTube. You're not new to YouTube. What I need you to do is I need you to hit the like button. I need you to hit the subscribe button. And I need you to share this podcast with a friend, right? Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. We'll be back here next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And we're going to be doing our final recap of 2023. So, guys, we appreciate you, and we'll see